it's me again, guys. I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The bad news is that the Olympics are over and the Paralympics don't start for another couple of weeks. But the good news is that Bake Off is back for a new series tonight. If you don't watch Bake Off, why? I mean, it's basically perfect. Are people actually allowed not to watch Bake Off anymore? We're going to pretend that this is entirely different to the Facts About Baking video I did last year. Okay? It'll be better, if not entirely original. If you have been living under a rock for the last decade, the Great British Bake Off is a hugely popular television show in which amateur bakers compete for the weekly title of Star Baker, and ultimately, at the end of the series, a cake stand and a book deal, I guess? Last year's final was watched by 13 million people, which incidentally is the same number of total calories in the cakes made over a course of a series. Viewers find that they choose a favourite contestant very early on. Not so early though that you'll be upset about who gets kicked out in the first week. Just try to remember who left in week 1 last year. I think he might have worn a hat? Normally by week 4 you don't remember, and frankly, you don't care. Sorry, hat guy. The Great British Bake Off was invented by the Romans. This is going to be a challenge because I specifically said last time that they didn't invent baking. Yeah, so while they didn't invent baking as such, what the Romans did do was, the Romans didn't invent Bake Off either. They were too busy inventing everything else. It was actually Mel and Sue who invented it as an elaborate ploy just to be able to eat lots of cake over summer. They only really wanted it to last 1 summer, but the whole thing has got a bit out of control. And they don't have the heart to tell anyone that they're actually quite fed up of cakes now. It's okay guys, if you want to step down, I'm ready to step up to the plate. As you may or may not know, the average person is 60% water. Mary Berry is 60% gin. Speaking of alcohol, don't ever play a drinking game while watching Bake Off. You know the kind. Drink every time somebody sits on the floor watching the oven, or whenever somebody says soggy bottom, or there's a shameless innuendo. But don't. The only person who can watch a whole episode and play that kind of game without being taken to the hospital is Mary Berry. And that's because she's 60% gin already. People often wonder why Bake Off takes place in a tent. But if it took place in an office, that would just be silly. Oh, why a tent rather than a kitchen? Got ya. Producers decided that if it took place in a kitchen, it would look too similar to MasterChef, and so they'd have to change the name to something like Master Baker, and suddenly it doesn't sound so family friendly anymore. The plinky plonky music used in Bake Off is specially composed for the show and performed by the Plinky Plonky Orchestra of Great Britain, except for the plinky plonkiest track, which is not made by humans at all, but by bees running in formation across harp strings. You know the one I mean. If you don't, you'll be listening out for it now. Hi again, my name is Rebecca and I post a new video every Wednesday. If you're watching Bake Off this year, tell me who your favourite is and I can see whether we agree, or if you're wrong. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back next week. In the meantime, please remember to work hard, laugh harder, and always accept a hug. And in honour of Bake Off being back on our screens, this week have some cake. I have none cake. I do have a tiny Lego man holding a tiny custard tart, if that counts.